Howdy, here's the last video on section 3, and that's just called reasoning about volume, and that's just thinking about it kind of outside the box, outside the formula. So here we have a picture. What would we call this shape? Again, pause it if you need more time. But this is a triangular prism. We have two bases that are triangles, so that's a prism, and so it's a triangular prism. This asks us to figure out how are we going to find the volume of the block. Is this the pyramid volume formula or the prism volume formula? Both or neither? And I feel like I kind of gave it away, right? So if we look here, I said it's a triangular prism, so it probably makes sense that we would use the prism volume formula. If we're going to do that, we have to remember the formula. Do you? Hopefully you do. So the volume of a prism is the area of the base times the height of the prism. Now, quick story, when I was first teaching high school in the geometry, we reviewed this section, and the book had it written like this. And I soon realized that students thought this B was the same as this B. But this B in the book said area of base. But nobody ever read that part, so this just led to a lot of confusion. So just wanted to mention that. All right, so let's take a look. How do we find the area of the base? Well, it's a triangle. I circled this as the base, and if I did, you're probably thinking this is the height, and that's a lot of work. But hopefully a few of you are at least saying, hey, wait a second. There's a lot easier way to do this. If we say this is the base, then we know this is the height. Can you picture that? And so the area of this triangle is half times 2 for the base times 2 for the height times the height of the prism, which if we stood it upright, you could see the height would be 5. Multiply that out and we get 10. And what's the label here? Hopefully you realize when we take the area, we're thinking about squares. But then when I think about the height, when I take the height, there's 5 of these, so I'm counting squares here. Do you see them? I said squares. I meant cubes. I'm counting cubes. Do you see these cubes? So these are 10 cubic inches. Oops. 10 cubic inches, and I was going to erase this mess here. So, the volume of this then is 10 cubic inches using the prism volume formula. Why don't we use the pyramid formula? Remember, a pyramid has to come to a point and then have a base. So if we had triangles all the way around, say a square base, then we would use that. This, you might say, well, this comes to a point, but not like this, where there are triangles coming to a point. And so we do need to use the prism volume formula. It also asks you to think about finding the volume in another way and explain your reasoning. I'm actually going to leave this for you and your classmates. If you remember, on ground, I had you do some presentations. Not exactly sure how that's going to play out for the second half of this semester, but I'm going to create a discussion board in which you can do your own screencast like I've been doing. If you're doing that in a newer iPad, there's a screen record button here. You can see that red blinking button. That's how I'm doing my screen recording and then just uploading to YouTube. You could paste that in. You could also just do it on paper and explain yourself thoroughly on paper and upload it to the discussion board. Record yourself with your cell phone, whatever. There's 1,000 ways you could do it. But go ahead and post that, and if yours is unique, or it's, I'll definitely give you some credit for posting that. And actually, this one the same way. This one says determine the volume of the staircase shown below in 2 different ways. One thing I would like to point out is these are all 90-degree angles here. You can't see that. But this is a staircase where you would walk up these stairs. This is 1 meter. Up and down is 20 centimeters. Straight back is 20 centimeters on each one. So 20 here, 20 here, 20 here, 20, 20, 20. This is 1 meter. Hopefully you notice something here that these don't match up. 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. So let's go ahead and use that 100 centimeters there. And again, it says in 2 different ways. In the past, during class, we've come up with 6 or 7 or 8 different ways. So really would like to see what you can do there and post